Yes, welcome into sportsBIT. Betting Inside today, Pauly and Teddy, Tuesday, March 28th. Big game breakdown, the doubleheader on the NIT Semis, and the Rockets and the Warriors, the deep dive. Can you believe it? The Las Vegas Raiders, it's official. We'll talk about that, some interesting quotes from a couple owners as well, and the play of the day. Bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books. Story time coming up in a second. A bad beat, bad bet, bad for the books, all in one. OKC bet up from 1 to 2. They're down 13 late. Just like the Clipper game, and the Thunder close on a 14-0 run.
I think this might have been worse. The Clipper game, at least there was 5 minutes left. This was 3.5 left. Okay, so you have this is really a rare game where you have a bad beat, bad bet, and bad for the books all in one game. All right, it says Oklahoma City money from -1 to -2. So the bad beat, the Thunder trailed the whole game, literally. I mean, from the opening tip, they stole it late. The bad bet, obviously all that OKC money for a team that trailed all night. Early Mavs bettors pushed. Really tough result for that game. OKC money, wrong side. So the bad beat, you have the bad bet. Bad for the books. Anytime you got a game that pushes against the opener or the closer, books are refunding bets, not cashing massive profits. So one of those games where everything went wrong for the house, especially at the end with that 14-0 run.
Bad for the books continues. We weren't the only ones on this show to point out the Pistons have been a mess lately. The Knicks took money. The Knicks, and they ran out the Pistons again. Remember, after they lost on the buzzer beater against the Nets, we had some money quotes on this show about, boy, it's a wake-up call. Then Van Gundy started laughing, saying, guys, we're 71 games in. It's shit's been going on the entire year. They went to Chicago and were blown out. They lost by 28 to Orlando, and the Knicks embarrassed them last night.
Sure. They lost 7 of their last 8. You have issues at the point guard position. Andre Drummond last night, 10 points, 15 rebounds. It might have been the quietest double-double you've seen from any player all year. Most of that came in the first quarter. And what happened in the third? 35 seconds into the third quarter, Van Gundy's burning a timeout. That's all you need to know. Knicks 15-0 run. It turned a 5-point halftime lead into a 20-point edge. Not a pretty result for the Pistons, and the bettors got this one right. Wherever your Detroit power rating number is, lower it. The Pistons in free fall right now.
Yeah, here's another one, bad for the books. We talked about the Cavs. The over didn't have a chance because it was so. I knew we were cooked at the half because it was such a blowout. Although the Spurs, again, got whatever they wanted in the first half. I think they had 64 points at the half, but the Spurs took money. The Cavs are now the 2 seed in the East. And don't look now, but the Wizards could catch the Cavs. The Cavs could be the 3.
Yeah, sure. And again, sportsBIT, just like it came with, we talked about the Pistons. We're not the only ones that noticed the Pistons free fall. We're not the only ones that noticed the Cleveland Cavaliers struggles of late. Spurs from -4.5 up to -5.5 at many books. And this is a game where Coach Tyronn Lue emptied the bench by midway through the third. Blowout city. Bad result for the house.
Bad bet. The Magic took money at Toronto. Look at this score, 131 to 112.
Yeah, I mean, why bettors are steaming a lame duck piece of junk on the road this late in the season? Very much a question. I mean, Toronto, maybe there was some Terrence Ross issues with Terrence Ross returning, and the Magic have played better over the last week, but the Raptors seem to be more jacked up for Ross's return than Ross was himself. Toronto hit 67% from three-point range for the ball game.
All right, we're just going to give you some lines here. So do with this what you want, but I think it's fascinating. This is Sports Insights on Twitter. At Bet Online, Donald Trump is now 160 not to finish his first term. -160s. The money continues to come in on the no. And Paddy Power, Trump is +110 to be impeached now.
Yeah, and of course the Paddy Power's got numbers up. Tax evasion +300, bribery +1,000, perjury +1,200, treason +1,600. But yeah, the BOL number is worth talking about. And we don't talk politics. This is not about whether we're Trump supporters or Trump opposed or whatever you want to be. This is about making money off of politics. And right now with Trump not to finish his first term, not just chalk, this is significant chalk. But again, these are the same bettors who were betting on Trump to lose the election and laying $3 with Hillary to do that. So we'll take it with a grain of salt. But the bottom line is that the betting market's not very bullish on Donald Trump's ability to complete his first term right now.
Yeah, we're talking about a big move there in the last couple of weeks. Remember the poker boom? Holy cow, what happened at the Monte Carlo?
Monte Carlo, the latest Las Vegas poker room is shut down. And I mean, poker was, we're talking about, and Monte Carlo it's shutting down, I believe, at the end of the month. But this is a situation where, 2002, before the Chris Moneymaker story, poker rooms were closing in Las Vegas. Casinos, 144 tables, they made $30 million off of poker revenue. Not a significant source. 5 years later, by 2007, casinos had more than tripled their poker revenue and they had 405 tables. Last year, the number's declining. This year, the number's declining even further. So, poker's never been a huge moneymaker for the casinos, but, it's a situation where they put in a poker room so you don't go somewhere else to play poker, and maybe the people you're with will hang out and play slots and whatever. But when it comes to the steady decline of poker, this is real now. More rooms are closing than opening, and the number of tables in the state of Nevada down by 25% from the high. Poker is in decline. Sports betting, Pauly, not so much.
Nope, and Black Friday was a huge blow to that industry. Up next, big game breakdown. What a game. Warriors and the Rockets, and the doubleheader on ESPN with the NIT. And then the Raiders on sportsBIT. Betting Insight today on SBRpicks.com.
Go to SBRodds.com. Browse, compare, and shop live odds available at top online sportsbooks.
Back on sportsBIT, Pauly and Teddy. Follow us on Twitter at Pauly Howard at Teddy _ covers big game breakdown. Let's start in the association. Live odds, sportsbookreview.com. Warriors and the Rockets. Houston 1.5, 234 the total. Only the second time all year the Warriors are a dog. Well, the first time was at San Antonio when Kerr sat everybody. And Warriors are dogs the same night Brooklyn's favorite. Go figure. Warriors 5-11 ATS their last 16. But we've been telling you this for a while now on sportsBIT. 15-1 to the under in the last 16 for Golden State.
Yeah, and this is a story. 10 straight unders, 15-1 last 16. The last 10 have fallen a total of 109 points below. So they're averaging going under by just shy of 11 points per games. And you look at the defense, NBA defensive numbers. So I'm thinking Raiders, man. That Raiders thing messed me up yesterday. Didn't mess me up. It's very exciting. But again, we'll talk about that in deep dive. Defense over the last 10 games. So look at the graphic. Warriors best in the NBA. Look at the Pelicans ranked third in that number. And of course, pace-wise, for the full season, we're talking about a team that's number 3 in the NBA. They pushed the tempo over the last 10 games, middle of the pack. So they've slowed down their pace. They've improved their defense. And that's why, at least partially, Golden State's been on this monster run of unders. Hopefully something you've paid attention to, as we mentioned it on sportsBIT a good handful of times.
Early in the year, Rockets won in Golden State in double overtime. They lost at home to Golden State a while back, but you run into a tough scheduling spot here with the Warriors. The Rockets have been home since March 19th, only their 4th game in 10 days. And the offense has been terrific. Harden had 22 against OKC. He's only 4th on his team in scoring in that game. Ariza, quote, "It's important to have depth, and the fact we have so many versatile guys or guys that can put the ball in the basket, big key. If one guy's not playing well or the ball's not falling, they're trapping him or whatever, we have other guys they have to worry about. If you play other guys one-on-one, they can put the ball in the basket as well," end quote. And you saw Lou Williams went bananas in that game Sunday afternoon in the win. Can the Warriors slow them down? Rockets post-break. Offense, points per 100 possessions, number 1. Pace, number 2.
Yeah, you talk about the situation for Houston, and Houston in a very friendly scheduling spot. Been home for a week now and only, 4th game in 10. It's a friendly scheduling spot for Golden State as well. Only their 3rd game in 7 days. The first 2 were home wins over the Kings and Grizzlies. So for once, we had a marquee matchup where both teams rested, ready, and good to go. We're going to talk about this game more when it comes to play of the daytime.
All right, NIT semifinal number 1, the Garden. Live odds, sportsbookreview.com. Great story here. Cal State, Bakersfield, Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech 2, 123 the total. Bet down to 1.5 over the weekend, then back up to 2 last night. And how much does this mean to Bakersfield on Saturday? The BMW of Bakersfield Fan Fest. The team held open practice. Free tacos. Come on. How many cars? You got to love that. And since the NIT went to seeded in 2016, they're the first 8 seed to make it to the Garden. Had to win road games at Cal, Colorado State, and Texas Arlington. Is this the guy's real name? The Ziggy Siegfried, the AD. Our brand is getting out there. We have people from all over the country who see the name CSU Bakersfield and want to come to school here. We have alums sending us notes who are proud of us. We have recruits that want to pick us over programs that might have been considered more prestigious. Our program just took many steps forward in how long it's going to take us where we want to be, end quote. That is a great quote for mid-majors with these stupid conference tournaments when they get upset and it prevents them from making a run or sending their best team to the big dance. In any event, can they keep this up? Because they've been terrific shooting the three, Teddy.
Well, and there's always a question. Is a team going to be disappointed for getting relegated to the NIT or after not making an appearance in the big dance? And I think this is so much better for a program to go to the NIT, have some success, have a chance to win a game or two or three, as opposed to, going into the big dance as a 15 seed and getting whacked by somebody in the first round. You say which has been better for the Bakersfield program? No question. Their conference tournament loss has worked out well for the program. You talked about Bakersfield and the BMW dealership giving out free tacos. You ever been to Bakersfield, Pauly? I mean, I can't imagine they're selling a ton of Beamers. How many cars are going to sell at a BMW dealership in Bakersfield? But we're talking about a team that has been on a remarkable run. Again, the first number 8 seed to ever make an NIT Final Four. And they've done it by shooting lights out. That's been really the number one reason. Can they keep making shots? You look at the first 31 games of the season from three-point land. They're averaging 6.2 makes from three per game, 33.5% shooting. In the NIT, they've averaged 10 makes per game, shooting 51% from beyond the arc. And of course, this is a team that led their 3 road games by a combined 141-80 score at halftime. So the bad news about this great shooting, they haven't had a whole lot of real game pressure throughout the whole tournament. If they get some here, I'm not convinced they'll stand up well to it.
And this guy took a lot of abuse, but Passner did an excellent job in his first year here at Tech. Considered too young at Memphis, guy who could recruit but was weak with the X's and O's, took over a makeshift roster, almost got him in the tournament this year. Preseason blue ribbon yearbook. Passner, quote, "It's like a startup company I'm taking over. We lost 85 to 90% of every major stat category from last year's team. Brand new team in every single aspect you can think of. Based on our personnel, we got to do a great job of hitting singles, not trying to hit home runs, being fundamentally sound, and doing all the little things." He had one key to build on, good size on defense. They played a lot of zone to take advantage of that.
Yeah, I mean, throughout the NIT, you want to talk a sub-story throughout the NIT, the 4 coaches that are going tonight, Rod Barnes, Josh Passner, Johnny Dawkins, Jamie Dixon, we're going to talk about all 4. All of them made the final 20 for the Jim Phelan Coach of the Year Award. That's going to be announced at the Final Four this weekend. So we're talking about coaches as a group in this tournament that have all earned their paychecks this year, or at least some of their paychecks. They get paid a lot of money. But, when we look at the perspective of this team on defense, look at the numbers, defensive efficiency. Again, this is supposed to be a rebuilding year for a crappy team in a tough conference. And yet, look at the defensive efficiency. Oh, in the country, Gonzaga, South Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia, Florida, Kentucky. And in that mix, all tournament teams, all pretty good tournament teams in that mix, Georgia Tech is sitting at number 6. So I don't know that we're going to see the Cal State Bakersfield magical run continue.
And after this, second semifinal, following that game rather, TCU and Central Florida 2.5, 132.5 the total. More major coaching overhauls in this one. People wondered why Dixon left Pitt for TCU, his alma mater. And Dixon, it was always a dream when you're able to return one day and coach your alma mater. Teams grew up fast and faced tough challenges. 15 games against teams that made the tournament. So hopefully the experience here in New York, also the win against Kansas in the Big 12 tournament, maybe something to build on. And usually the team that does well in this tournament makes the tournament the following year.
Yeah, sure. And I mean, look, you think about Dixon and why would you leave Pitt for TCU? Well, he led the TCU team to a pair of Southwest Conference titles, his junior and senior. He led the conference in assists. He was all SWC as a senior. So he's got really good memories from his undergraduate experience at TCU. And so far, he's had pretty good experience with his coaching career at TCU. You talk about the influence of Jamie Dixon on this offense, and the numbers show it really clearly. TCU this year, something they haven't done in years. They ran a good offense. They shared the basketball. Big leap in scoring. Big leap in moving the ball in terms of assists per field goal made. And the numbers show it very clearly on that graphic. But, Johnny Dawkins, program turner in his first season, really is.
Not bad. Look at this. 2014, they were 13 and 18, 12 and 18, and 12 and 18, and then 24 and 11 this year. Dawkins before the season, quote, "I see an amazing opportunity here. I think everything's in place to do something special," end quote. Helped that he inherit the 7'6" guy, Taco Fall. Managed to get him up to 26 minutes per game, 11 and 9 with 88 blocked shots.
Sure, and this is a defense that ranked number 17 in the nation, and number 2 in effective field goal percentage, number 1 in 2-point percentage allowed. Fell's a sophomore. Or Fall's a sophomore, I should say. So is the leading scorer, B.J. Taylor, averaging close to 18 points a game. There's big-time upside for this program ahead. Here's Jamie Dixon talking about Fall, and the UCF Knights. Quote, "Obviously, he changes the game inside defensively, but there are some other things that we hope we can take advantage of in transition or bring him out on the perimeter to guard some ball screens or create matchups more to our liking. With strengths come from weaknesses, and as we go, we look at those and we attack those. A smart offensive coach like Dixon likely to find some weaknesses in that UCF defense."
Eddie Leans, what do you think?
I don't want the dog.
How about the first game?
I don't want the dog.
Really?
Yeah. I said I'm not convinced that Bakersfield. My first reaction was Bakersfield. The more I looked at the game, the less I wanted Bakersfield. Considering they've gone out to big first half leads, they've shot lights out. I'm not convinced that's going to continue tonight.
All right, play of the day up next in the deep dive. Can you believe it? The NFL coming to Las Vegas, 31-1 vote. And how about the Super Bowl in 2022? We'll tackle that next on sportsBIT. Betting Insight today on SBRpicks.com.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SBR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much, much more.
All right, wrapping up on sportsBIT. Betting Insight today, Pauly and Teddy. How about the Las Vegas Raiders? I don't know what's going to happen in 2019. The state-of-the-art stadium, $1.7 billion, going to be ready 2020. Maybe, I can't remember an organization being lame duck for this long. But in any event, easy vote, 31-1. The Dolphins, the only team that voted against. There was one owner who expects the Raiders to be more successful in Vegas than the two teams in LA. I don't know anybody who's excited about the Chargers in Los Angeles. That's a great quote. Also, did you know this? The NFL now is a team in Las Vegas. They have a rule that officials cannot come to Las Vegas while the season's going on. If they want to travel here in the off season, they have to get permission from the league, and they can't go to a sports book, Teddy.
Correct. Now, they're saying that rule will be rescinded. So officials will be allowed in the state of Nevada or in the city of Las Vegas. But I haven't heard anything about the sportsbook rule getting rescinded. And there's still a lot of moving pieces here when it comes to gaming. But first, Pauly, let's make this really clear. This wasn't a 10-1 dog, a 100-1 dog. This was like a 1,000,000-1 dog. 10 years ago. Never.
Run it down. Run down the examples.
Okay, let's see. When I moved to Vegas, the NFL was actively going after casinos for using the word Super Bowl. They were trying to shut down all the Super Bowl parties in town. You remember that? They wouldn't let the Vegas ads on NFL games. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. They wouldn't let them do that.
And hold on. You could not, when NBC had the Super Bowl, NBC couldn't promote their own television show called Las Vegas.
Yes, exactly, called Vegas. Yeah.
That's an all-timer there.
Yeah, again, it's nothing to do with Vegas, just the show was called Vegas or Las Vegas, whatever it was. They couldn't promote it. That's how and this isn't 100 years ago, 50 years ago. This is stuff 10 years ago. In 2012, the NFL, we got a great timeline here of Goodell quotes. In his deposition from the New Jersey sports betting case in 2012, Roger Goodell. It is a very strongly held view, it has been for decades, that the threat of gambling could occur in the NFL or fixing of games, or that any outcome could be influenced by the outside, could be very damaging to the NFL and very difficult to ever recover from. That's why we take the position that we do with all our policies and education to make sure that people understand we'll enforce it vigorously. Okay, the threat of gambling could occur in the NFL. This is 2012. But $750 million goes a long way of public money. It certainly does.
Well, I got news for you. Goodell works for the owners, so they basically told him to go pound sand. Because this is from Albert Breer, Sports Illustrated. Here's a AFC owner. From a gambling standpoint, that's a joke to say it even be a problem. That was an issue decades ago. Now, sports gambling is going to be legal. We might as well embrace it and become part of the solution rather than fight it. It's in everyone's best interest for it to be above board. Here's an NFC owner. The first question is going to be about gambling. Any of us can pull out our phones out of our pockets and place a bet right now. But it's relatively put to bed just because of technology today, and we'll take it a step further. Not only do we get the Raiders, we don't know the one Super Bowl that's up, because 2021's in LA. Every team that gets the new stadium gets a Super Bowl. How about the Super Bowl here in 2022 with the numerals LV, Roman numerals LV?
That'd be really cool. I'm still taking the over when we get a Super Bowl. But, here's Tony Alamo, Dr. Tony Alamo, the chairman of the Nevada Gaming Commission. Quote, "There is betting on professional sports all over the country, illegally. In Nevada, we do it very well, very organized, very regulated. We do it every day. Frankly, I think it's the safest place on the planet to have bets on sports is the state of Nevada." And when you look at Goodell's more recent quotes, from last April, quote, "All of us have evolved a little bit on gambling. To me, where I cross the line is anything that can impact the integrity of the game. If people think it is something that can influence the outcome of the game, we are absolutely opposed to that." But the fact that he's saying we've evolved this past January, we've seen changes in the culture around the country in gambling. We're obviously very sensitive to that. But we're also going to evaluate the Raiders, blah, blah, blah. One thing we can't ever do is compromise on the game. So Goodell's still talking the talk, but you're right. It's the owners who are paying him 31-1, Pauly. 31-1. I mean, that's the thing that amazed me, is not that it passed because it looked like it was going to, but the fact that only the Miami Dolphins, supposedly that's because Miami doesn't have a state income tax like Nevada, and the better free agents would want to come to Nevada as opposed to going to the Dolphins, supposedly was why the Dolphins voted against it. But 31-1, Pauly. This is a paradigm shift for sports betting compared to where it was even 5 years ago. And I got to say, buddy, me and you should take some credit for this, because the fact that we've been pushing, and I'm not saying we brought the Raiders to Vegas, Chad Millman and David Purdom and the guys on ESPN, SVP has certainly gone a long way, but the mainstreamization of sports betting, we've been a part of that, and I'm proud of that legacy, Pauly. We helped change the culture to allow the Las Vegas Raiders. Only problem, now my kid's going to grow up a Raider fan, which means he's going to kick everybody's ass.
What is this, what do we do with the Raiders home field? I mean, that could be a weird scene the next couple of years. That they're lame duck and the fans could be angry, and who knows what's going to happen. Do they still sell out? I mean, what if they get off to a slow start? I mean, maybe not 2017, but 2018 is going to be weird. And my God, they might play Sam Boyd in 2019 if they renovate that thing.
Yeah, and that is honestly one of those situations where anything we try to project now is overreaching in my mind. Let's watch, let's pay attention, and we'll evaluate the Raiders' home field as it progresses throughout the course of next season. But for right now, going into the campaign, I am not going to adjust my Raiders' home field rating even a half point based on their lame duck status. Not going to do it. Though there is one other interesting question to consider here, Pauly. And this is the one factor, again, the gaming issue has not been touched on in a real way by the NFL. If the NFL wanted to, they could approach the Gaming Commission within 30 days of the first game being played of the Raiders' move to Las Vegas and say, we don't think there should be betting on Raider games or NFL games or maybe even a Super Bowl here in town. And then the Gaming Commission would hold hearings on that and potentially give the NFL what they would want. You think that'll ever happen?
No, good luck with that. They know better than that. Not after those. Goodell's a buffoon. Not after what those owners told Albert Breer. Money time, play of the day. Back to the Rockets and Warriors. What are we doing?
Let's do it, man. We have Golden State as a legitimate underdog for the first time all season. My power ratings show it too. This is a Rockets team that you and I believe in, Pauly. A statement game at home, laying 1.5. Let's do it. Houston, -1.5. Game number 722. That's our play of the day.
You got it. Big show coming up the rest of the week. A little look at baseball. Final Four, of course. Next week, the Masters championship game. It'll be crazy. Thanks for watching. Tell your friends. sportsBIT. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.